great day, attractive thinker and visual encouragers around the world. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance. Dr. Toni Hatton here, your identity coach and get to the root specialist at theattractivethinker.guru. This is where we support new and aspiring entrepreneurs with writing your books and launching your business ideas and mental tools. You need mental tools to overcome the mental barriers and blocks that are going to come up along the way. There's some internal things that you're stirring up anytime you step outside of your comfort zone, and we do not want you to be stuck. We do not want you to give up on your dream, on your book, or your business idea, or that thing that you desire to do with your life. This is why we exist, to support you in continuing with the same momentum that you had when you first got the idea. Welcome, my co host, Tichet Bradshaw, to another episode of Beyond the Break. Give yourself a fighting chance.
Happy Mindset Monday, everybody. We made it through another week full of power. We get to do what we've never did, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have in this lifetime. It's a great day to be alive.
It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. I want you to feel what that feels like. I want you to think about that, attractive thinker, because it is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. If you're still breathing, there's still opportunities, there's still chances and choices and decisions, new decisions that you can make, new things that you can experience, new places to go, new people to meet, new experiences even within yourself, new things to enjoy, things you haven't even seen yet, ideas you haven't considered yet. It is a fantastic and amazing day to be alive. You always hear me say, it's not another Monday. It is a new Monday. It's not another day. It is a brand new day that you've never seen before. If you haven't already done so, I want to encourage you to run on over to Amazon and grab your copy of The Attractive Thinker Experience, because you're going to need this on your entrepreneurial journey for mental healing, mental strength, and mindset maintenance. You're going to need the resources that are there so that you aren't starting and stopping, believing in your dream and your idea, and then not believing, talking yourself into it, and then talking yourself out of it with the same breath. You need mental resources. A lot of times, Tishet, I understand clearly, through coaching attractive thinkers for years, I understand clearly that the dream is real, the dream is right. Everybody has these ideas, but to get them out, the dream actually has to flow through. It's just like giving birth to a baby. The baby has to come through a canal. It has to come through some things. Sometimes, if a mom is having complications, the baby has to come through other things like getting untangled from the umbilical cord, or passing through fibroids or growths or tumors or incisions and scar tissue and all kinds of things, maybe infections or diseases that the doctor is trying to prevent the baby from encountering. When you give birth to a book on idea, you're giving birth to a dream. When you're pushing a book out, you're pushing a business out. It's like taking something from the invisible realm and making it physical. That's a birthing process. So you're going to encounter some things along the way. In order to not hinder that process, you're going to need these mental tools. Today, we're going to shine the light in a specific area, because we understand that in life you're going to experience some defining moments, some breaks in your life, some things that actually break your heart. And, like I said, through coaching clients down through the years, and even myself, to shed with some defining moments that I've experienced, sometimes when you're in them, you just want it to be over. You just can't wait until you come out of it. You can't wait for a different kind of day. You can't wait to be able to wake up with some other thoughts on your mind than these thoughts. You can't wait to feel different. You can't wait to, and a lot of times, yet we put things on hold. We put our life on hold. We stop making certain decisions, even decisions that bring us joy. We put our joy on hold because we're going through a break. or because we're experiencing a defining moment or something unexpected that we had not anticipated. Now everything's on. Now I can't move. Now I can't buy the new car. Or now I can't get married. Or now I can't get divorced. Or now we can't have the baby. Or now we need to make some change. Now I can't go to school. Now I need to quit school. So many different changes and so many different experiences about our lives. These areas of our lives get put on hold when we're going through a defining moment. And one of the things that I've discovered, Tichet, is we go through these defining moments and then we come out of them and then we try to move on to the next thing. We didn't capture the lessons or the blessings. We still come out trying to figure out who we are, what our purpose is, and where we're going. What are we supposed to be doing for our lives? When we just came through a traumatic experience that not just broke us or not just broke our heart, but it also released a treasure. It gave us access to the very answers that we've been searching for. But if we don't see it as such, we bypass it and continue the search. We bypass and continue to look for what we already have. And I always say, if you go through something, if it has to hurt, it has to count. You don't come out of a breaking empty handed, because a breaking allows us access to things that only a breaking can reveal. It's like a breaking is the key to the treasure, a treasure box. And without the breaking, you don't have access. But if you break, if your heart breaks, if you experience a defining moment, something painful, something that changed your life for the rest of your life, you didn't just break, you broke open. And now you have access to things that people seek and search for years. Today we're going to be talking about, don't just go through it, use it. Tisha, talk to us.
Absolutely. Some of the times when we go through things, we often take for granted that it could be for a reason or a purpose. We kind of just go through it, we go through the emotions, and the emotions be at the forefront, and you focus on the pain. But since we
Mm,
always talk about living beyond the break, we have taught that instead of focusing on the pain, focus on the purpose, focus
mhm,
on the reason. Find the reason. Why? Because just like you just said, if we got to go through something, it has to count, right? And so it has to count that we want to focus on, not to go into birth, right?
mhm,
We all go through situations and circumstances for whatever reason, but I don't believe in coincidences. I truly believe that everything has a reason and a purpose. Every pain, every loss, every wake up, every lesson, every blessing has a purpose assigned to it. And a lot of times, your divine purpose is why we go through certain things. There are some situations that we find ourselves in that exposes who we really are. It exposes the gift, it exposes the area we should be going in. A lot of us don't even know what we were supposed to be doing until we went through certain things and then it exposed you to something, right? For instance, one of the reasons with me being a visual encourager, I was depressed. I went through some stuff and now I have answers and
mhm,
I'm able to encourage visionaries to go after their vision and not let anything stop them because I didn't let anything stop me. Right. And so um being an encourager, you you have to have a certain mindset when you're trying to encourage people. You can't just go to people with cliches and, just any type of sentences and think that's going to encourage them. No, I had to learn how to go deep. And the reason why I learned how to go deep was because I was cut deep,
mm,
right? And so being healed from being cut deep allowed me the ability to have some answers that I could use to help people who've been cut deep see something different so that they don't give up on their journey, right?
mhm,
So a lot of you might have different gifts and different situations that expose different gifts. Some of you might not have known that you could cut and that you can cut wood or do something until you had to build your own home because somebody took your other one. You know what I'm saying? Like situations like you don't know what you have in you until you're faced with a situation that makes it come out. Some of us don't know how strong we are until we're in a situation that allows you the ability to be strong. One of the things my mother used to say is be careful how you pray. She said if you pray for carriage, the carriage might not show up the way that you want it to. The carriage is going to show up by you having a situation that requires you to have the carriage, right? So you have to be careful and specific in your prayers. So a lot of the situations that we have encountered has allowed us to see how strong and how powerful we are. It has opened us up to our own spirit, our identity. What were we identifying with? Sometimes when life is snatched away from you
Mm.
and you done lost everything, that's when you see what is still standing. That's when you see who you really are, right? Because you've been going through life identifying with your home, identifying with your car, identifying with your job, your money, that man. You've been identifying with all these different things, but when all that stuff is snatched to you and you're still standing, now you're getting to the root of who you are without all of those misidentities. You know what I'm saying? And so you begin to build who you are without having it attached to something. So then when you build who you are without the attachment, it leaves you with a foundation that can't be rocked
Mm.
by
Mm.
simple situations and circumstances. And that's what we want, sustainability. We want to have a sustainable power in our life that is not rocked every time a situation and circumstance happens. So if you come and snatch my house, I've had my house snatched before and I made it. You snatch my house again, I made it before. I know I'm gonna make it again. And then how I came out of those situations where everything was snatched made me see that I can come out of this situation too. So then you start to find answers and you start to find encouragement, not just for you, but for people who are attached to you, people who are attached to your voice. There are some people that you might be a vessel for.
Mm.
There are some people you just never know. You might be an answer for somebody. But if you allow your situations and circumstances to silence you, how will you become the purpose for which you came into this physical existence for, right? And so when we say don't go through it, use it. Don't just go through it, use it. Meaning sometimes you're going to go through stuff, but what we're going to focus on is turning our pain into power as much as we can. We're going to go, remember, we always talk about when you go through your past life and you look at where you come from, you're pulling the lessons and the blessings,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the reason why we say that is because we're not interested in carrying the pain anymore. We tell a story, we're not just telling a sad story. We're
Mm.
not just saying, yes, I went through all of this. What was the reason why you went through all of it? And if you don't know, it's time for some assessment.
Mm.
It's time to sit there, sit with yourself and look at what's going on because a lot of times some of the stuff that we go through is trying to help us break off some generational stuff on us.
Mm.
It's trying to help us to walk in the newness of life, to walk in the power, to live a legendary life. You
Mm-hmm.
know what I mean? And so, sometimes these situations that we are not fond of exposes us to the things that holds us back. Sometimes you might not know there's generational curses holding you back until you get in a situation that requires you to break it off, right? So that you can start a new journey where you shifting from generational curses to generational blessings, right? And now you and everybody that comes after you is being blessed because you broke off the traditions that caused everybody to be enslaved
Mm.
by their own situation and circumstances. it is possible, Dr. Tony, to be enslaved by your own situation and circumstance, your own thoughts. There's some people who might overthink, right? And so, or might have a lot of fear or a lot of doubt, low self-esteem, and you can be enslaved by those things if they control your life,
Mm-hmm.
right? They control how you make your decisions. They control what you do, and so you can't seem to get away from it. So it's like you feel like you're locked up to it. And when you feel like you're locked up to fear and you can't get away from it, you begin to serve it without knowing. And so what we're trying to say is perhaps your situation and circumstances is showing you that you're stronger than the fear you were just afraid of. You're stronger than the thing you thought will hold you captive. Sometimes you are inflicted pain strong enough so you can make a move, right? Because again, sometimes when we're not in pain and we just got a little uncomfortable, we make excuses to why we can stay in those situations. But when that pain come in and those things are it's like unbearable, now you have a passion or a desire strong enough to make you move that is leading you out of these situations, but it didn't come until the pain came.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times, a lot of people don't give birth without the pain. They don't even know they are in labor until that pain starts kicking in, and now they have to see what's going on. But as long as everybody was comfortable, you just carrying and just carrying and just carrying. So the pain caused you to push it out, and you wonder why you go through so much, right? You go through so much because you have a purpose. You go through so much because you're a person of power. You go through so much because this is God's way of exposing you to the power that you have within you. And so we're not meant to just go through, right? We're not meant to just keep going through problems and woe with me. We're not meant to just go through. We're meant to live life and that more abundantly. We're meant to feel alive. We're meant to experience. We're not meant to be stuck in the same situations and doing the same jobs and doing the we're not made to feel stuck and stale and stagnant. We're meant to be fully thriving, to feel fully alive. So the question is, when was the last time you felt alive? When is the last time you felt your power? So if you're in situations where you're in a break, could that break have exposed you to the possibility of building a life where you feel alive, where you're thriving, where you're feeling your power? Could it be introducing you to a you you've never met before if you're going in the break? If you're coming out of the break, then you have already met a different you because your identity changes as you go through a break. You don't come out of the break the same way you went in.
Mm-hmm.
You come out with a totally different identity. And so if you are coming out of a break, then you know that you are not the same as you were when you went in. You don't make decisions the same. You don't approach situations the same. There's a totally different mindset. Some of us don't even look the same as we did when we come in. That's the way you do when you go out. And if you're beyond the break, then you understand that identity is everything. You understand that what you go through does not define you, but what you can do is take what you go through and use it for the ability to evolve, for the ability to further a purpose. So this is why we say don't go through it. Use it. Take your lessons and your blessings and leave the pain behind. Back to you, Dr. Tony.
This is phenomenal, Tichet, because when we talk about don't just go through it, but use it, let's talk about some practical experiences. For example, we go through things, we talk about going through things that break our heart. And you said some powerful things that I'm going to touch on as well. Attractive thinkers and visual encouragers around the world, I want you to pay close attention to this message because if you went through something that changed you, you also have riches and wealth and resources you now have access to that most people don't have. I want you to rethink about these resources. You may have left them in the rubble. I mean, if you've been following us for some time now on our YouTube channel, Beyond the Break 2020, you may have heard us share our stories about our defining moments. And there was one in particular, whereas I had a vision. This was years after my defining moment. I experienced it. I had a vision. I was going through this place that appeared to be a junkyard, and there were piles of rubble that I was walking past. And there was something different about the rubble. It didn't just look like junk. There were things in there embedded in between all of these this pile of rubble that was shining like stars. You know, the whole pile, I mean, it went through the entire pile. Just think about a Christmas tree, and every now, you know how you wrap the Christmas tree in lights and you see lights sprinkled throughout the tree. That's what these piles look like. They look like piles of junk, but they had lights like stars, like something shining, glistening through these pieces of rubble. And throughout the vision, I was, you know, being talked to, you know, by the spirit, and it was showing me some things that I had come out of my defining moment, but I didn't. But I left my wealth and my gems and my treasure in my journey. I left it there. So I began to go back through my experiences and think about. See, in your attractive thinker notebook, I want you to write this down. We always talk about capturing the lesson in the blessing, or capturing the gems from these messages. The gems are anything about these messages that stand out to you that gives you clarity, anything that causes your light to come on. You want to capture that. You don't just let that hit the ground. You don't just let us talk and these things come up for you and you don't capture them, because you're going to need them going forward, and they will be a blessing to you in every other area of your life, not just while you're listening to this message. Um, the things that you want to capture, the lesson and the blessing, we're talking about. What did you learn? Write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. What did you learn as a result of your defining moment, as a result of the thing that broke you open? As a result of living now beyond this break, what did you learn that you can apply going forward? How can it benefit your life? How can it support you as a new and aspiring entrepreneur in reaching your goals? You don't come out of something that literally almost destroyed you and you come out still trying to figure out who you are. Who you are is a result of what you've been through. So you have to, and what I mean by that is it shapes you. Now, there are some things that we go through to shape, and we have to use our own discernment and our own spirit on the inside and discern what's for us and what's not, how we want to identify ourselves and how we don't. The defining moments, they don't define us. They show us some things about ourselves. They help us clarify the answers, the questions that we have about ourselves and about our lives. You don't want to walk around with something that happened to you that broke your heart, that was detrimental, and now you wear it as a badge of honor, or you lead. Every time you open your mouth, you lead with that story. You lead with the brokenness of that story instead of the purpose and the lessons and the blessings and who you became as a result, the good that you extracted from that experience. There's some good in everything, as hard as it might be to shed. I remember when I was going through my defining moment, there was nothing, you can't tell me that there's something good about this. My heart is broken. My spirit is literally destroyed. Why would you consider um, that being good, or something good coming from it, or it being good for me? You know, we when we go through these defining moments, we go through, it's a process. Within that defining moment, you will get to the point whereas you have the strength and the clarity to reach out and find something good in it, even if you're still going through it. You can see something that you've learned that you didn't know before. You get to a point in your process whereas you're no longer weeping and crying. You wipe your tears. You get to a point in your process whereas you now wipe your tears, or you don't cry as much when you think about it. You get to a point where, and see this process that I'm talking about, you're now healing. You're now healing through this process. And you're healing. See, you can't see the good if your eyes are wet with tears, if the tears are continuing to flow. You can't see through that. It's just like driving through a storm and your windshield washers aren't working. How can you see? You don't have clarity. So I can understand you saying, well, I can't see any good in this. Maybe you're at the beginning stages. Maybe you're still riding through the storm without the windshield washers, and all you see is your tears. But you'll get to a point through this breaking process whereas the tears don't flow like they used to. I got to a point to shed whereas I didn't have to take a whole break and cry just because I got the thought and it came back to my mind, and I experienced the whole thing all over again. I got to the point where I grew to a space whereas maybe a tear gathered in the corner of my eye, and I just took a little napkin and did like this, and I kept going throughout my day. And then I got to a point where I could think about it, and the tears wouldn't flow. See, you're healing through it. It doesn't mean that it was oh, this wonderful thing that broke your heart. You went through this wonderful experience and it was just grand, and thank God it broke my heart. And no, 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 no. An attractive thinker, visual encourager approach is a healthy approach to viewing your experiences. It's a healthy approach to viewing them in a way that empowers you instead of disempowering you. It's a way that lifts your spirit instead of destroying your spirit. It's a way that makes you feel worthy again and alive instead of feeling unworthy and like you're not good enough and that you're nothing because of what you went through. An attractive thinker, visual encourager approach gives you a certain eye, a keen eye for the good. Because if it has to hurt, turn to page 463 and read that section. If it has to hurt, it has to count. Now, everybody might not view it that way, but you're an attractive thinker, a visual encourager. You're a visionary. You can see beyond circumstances, you can see beyond what you're looking at. What do you see beyond this? Think about that. Write that down in your attractive thinker notebook. What do I see beyond this? See, when you first entered into the defining moment, your view may have been cloudy. You may not have been able to see that far. But now you're at a stage beyond the break, whereas you can turn around and look back and you have clarity. Hindsight is what's 2020. As attractive thinkers, we understand clearly. We don't see clearly looking going forward. That's why you're taking these slow steps and tiptoeing and taking a step and taking a step back and not sure, where to steady your feet. Because as attractive thinkers, we create blindly going forward. And that's why you have to rely on your spirit and your
Right.
intuition. You have to be led. And this is what walking by faith is all about. And again, in the Attractive Thinker book, there are several sections on walking in the dark, clarity in the midst of darkness, how to walk by faith, and what to look for in the dark, and things like that. You need to read these sections so that you don't waste your treasure, because if it had to hurt, you must make it count. You must make it count. So there are things that we gather and we collect and we acquire, we have access to in a breaking that we don't have access to without a breaking. So if it has to hurt, make it count. So what are we looking for when we come through a breaking? We're beyond the breaking point, and we don't just want to go through something. We want to use what we've gathered along the way. Your lessons, what did you learn? Tichet just said you are a different person after you experience a defining moment. You're not the same person. So now you have to get to know who you are now. What did you learn as a result of that? Because, we say life is a big lesson. So if we don't learn the lesson, what do we have to do? We have to go through it again. so that we can learn the lesson. It may not be that experience, it might be another experience. It may not be this person, may be the same kind of person with a different face. It may not be this thought, maybe a whole nother thought pattern, but because we didn't learn the lesson, we have to go through it again. So you want to capture your lessons. And you know what you've learned. Only you know how better you think now and how much more you set boundaries around yourself, how much more you love yourself, how much more of a priority you give to yourself now. How much more attention you give to yourself, how much more care you give to yourself now. We talk about loving ourselves, and what that really means to me is paying attention to how I feel and making how I feel matter, making how I feel a part of my decision process, making process, a part of the equation, a part of my interactions, a part of my invitations, and whether I say yes or no. Make sure I'm factoring in how I feel. Because if I keep making decisions outside of how I feel, outside of me, I'm so disconnected from my feelings, then I'm not making quality decisions that support me. Because if you have to go through something, you want to not just go through it, you want to be able to use it. And the only way you're going to be able to use it is if you begin to put a lot of attention on yourself. How did I feel going through that? And how do I feel now? What was I thinking prior to that breaking? And what do I think now? Here's a big one, and this is the essence of the attractive thinker experience that you purchased on Amazon. What did I believe back then? And what do I believe now? Because your belief is like the silent, invisible driver that's driving your life while you're sitting in the back seat. It's your belief. And if you don't address the driver, tap the driver on the shoulder and say, "Excuse me, I wanted to go this way, but you're taking me that way." If you don't address the driver, then he will continue to take you that way because you didn't make your belief known. You didn't establish your belief. Your belief is the driving force in your life. It's taking you everywhere, whether you want to go there or not. That's how strong your belief is. So when we talk about if you have to go through it, use it, you want to make sure that you've captured your lessons in your attractive thinker notebook, and you've also captured the blessings, because it wasn't all bad as it was. It wasn't all bad as detrimental as it was. It wasn't all bad as painful as it was. There was some grace involved. There was some mercy involved. There was some love involved. There was care and kindness and concern and nurturing and protection involved for you. You were protected, you were nurtured, you were encouraged, you were loved. There was grace extended to you, there was mercy concerning the situation. Capture that in your attractive thinker notebook. And as Tichet said earlier, the more you begin to sift through your defining moments and capture these gems, these lessons and blessings, the more you will be able to embrace this experience, and not something that you don't want to talk about anymore. You don't want to think about anymore. You don't want you view it as something that's not a part of your experience. You have this separation. That was that, and this is me. There's no connection there, and you don't want to disconnect from something that was so impactful in your life, because there's some things in there that could advance your life. It's like a mirror. You look into it and you begin to see things about yourself. You had questions prior to the breaking. And now when you look into this experience, you begin to see answers. And these gem, why capture the lessons and the blessings? Because you can not only use them going forward to shed, but as we've all heard, how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you apply these lessons and blessings to one area of your life, they will also work in all the other areas of your life. Back to you, Tisha.
The reason why we are talking about a lot of this and giving suggestions on how to go through the break, and if you gotta go through it, make it count and stuff like that, is because we want to make sure
Mm-hmm.
that you understand that you don't have to waste your life, right? And you said that, Dr. Tony, you said don't waste, you said you don't want to waste your treasure.
Mm-hmm.
We are trying to shift from wasting energy, wasting time, wasting money, and wasting your life away. We want to get out of wasting opportunities. We want to get out of wasting our energy. So, in order to do that, we want to make sure that when you go through a breaking process, whether you are going in it, coming out of it, or beyond it, we want to make sure you don't waste your treasure. And that's the lessons and the blessings you get from every moment. Why do we want to tell you to assess? Because we want to make sure that if there's a lesson and a blessing standing in front of you, that you don't miss it so that you don't waste your human experience, right? We all came here as a story being told,
Mm-hmm.
a story unfolding, right? We all have a story. You ever go on Lifetime Network and you watch people's story being told on Lifetime Network, and it's like, man, they made it through so much and they have so much going on, but look at what they have accomplished. And sometimes they'll have stories for legends that passed on and things like that. They'll have stories on there, and you'll see that their purpose has been there since they were a child. You can see it a little bit in them, but then you can see how their life unfolds. You can see it shaping them into something. You can see that one thing was always there was drive, but the drive to do it might not have came so easily had they not been disappointed in this area or did that in that area. You know what I mean? For instance, Oprah, she did the news channel for a little bit and they fired her, right? And look at where she stands now. What would have happened if she'd have just stayed in there and just did the news channel? We just never know. You just never know. But the one thing I want to make sure everybody knows is that you are a walking, living story. You are the main character in your own story. You might be one of the helpful characters in someone else's story too, but you are the main character in your story. I might be as a visual encourager, I tend to be a supporting character in many different visionary stories to help them discover that they are the main character in the story. Some of us don't even know we have a story. Some of us have taken for granted our past and our present, and
Mm-hmm.
then we don't know what we want for the future, right? And so I'm trying to get you to see that there's so much more to you than your problems. There's so much more to you than your pain. You have a whole story. Wouldn't it be awesome to sit and look at your whole story, like from the childhood you came into this life, you learned how to use this physical vehicle we call the human body. You learned how to use it. You went through life. You had certain desires and passions. You had certain struggles, and then you see how your whole life play out. And then at the end of your life, you turn around and be like, "Man, that was a good book. That was a good book right there, right?"
Mm-hmm.
And you didn't even realize you were walking as a story being told. And so the reason why we're encouraging you to um, see beyond what you're looking at is so that you make sure that if you're going through a physical experience, a human experience, you make it a great. So this is why we're saying if it hurt, it has to count, right? And so we are encouraging you to not waste any more time, any more energy. We're encouraging you not to waste any more treasure, right? We want you to get all you can out of your life, right? Yes, out of your day too, but out of your life. We always talk about how life is like a game, right? And in the game, you have different boards. You are presented with different boards. In the beginning of every board, everything that is needed for that board is already in you, right? The board is made for you to conquer already, right? This is what we call life. Every day you wake up, you have a purpose to why you want to go through that board. Some things you might want to, what we call, get the flag at the end if you play a certain game. Some you might want to get the treasures. You might want to win something at the end, get the box or deliver something. Every game has a purpose at the end for which you strive for, a reward at the end for striving to do or to get that thing, right? You say, I get the flag, then I get all these points. So I get the flag and I get um all of these different coins and this, that, and the other. We're not just going through a human experience for nothing. We're not just going through just to be going through. You know what I mean? Like we're not just sitting here as a human just for the sake of just being a human. We actually have a purpose for evolving. We have a purpose for going through to build, to get information, to experience the creative, experience what was created for us, right? We all have different ideas that we have put out in the earth, and everybody gets to enjoy the different ideas that each of us have, right? But you have something to bring to the story. You're not just walking through, just I'm just bored and I'm just here to just get a job and get a paycheck and live paycheck to paycheck. And I got a house, I got a car, okay, and that's it,
mm,
right? There's more to your story. Like a lot of us, I'm serious, Dr. Tony. I remember thinking this one time. I remember thinking, I wish my story could be easy,
mm,
right? I remember thinking that I want my story to be easy. Why couldn't I have just been born, got went to school, graduated college, got my degree, married the right man, have a kid, a boy and a girl and a dog and a cat, and I got my nice house and my nice car, and I got my millions of dollars, and then boom, I live happily ever after, right? My story, I wanted my story to be just easy, just like that. But then I realized there was more to me than a house, a car, and a man and my kids. And there was more to me than that, right? And so I didn't know that until I started going through stuff. There's more to life than what we see in the physical. There's some things. The greatness of life is what's going on the inside of you. The greatness of life is what happens in the spirit, right? Because we can all get and achieve all these different physical things and still feel empty,
mm,
right? I remember I remember Dr. Tony when I was trading in the stock market, and I still do, trading in the stock market. The stock market was allowing me to make what some people make in a year. It was allowing me to do that within an hour, right? At that time, I was so empty inside that it was never enough money. I kept trying to get more and get more and get more and get more, and it was just never enough because there was something missing in my spirit that I thought money could do.
mm,
Then I went through a break, and then the break exposed me to what life really is, the internal and the external, and how money was not the source of my happiness.
mm,
Money was not the reason why I could be happy. So
mm,
then I went through so much pain, and in my trying to feel better, I discovered myself.
mm, mm, mm,
Discovered who I was. I discovered what I was. Um, I discovered so much about myself that everything in my life had to change. And so even though I still trade, I don't trade with that same mindset. I don't have the same relationship with money that I did then. Um, and so now my relationships are meaningful. My
mm,
relationships are purposeful. The things that I do have a purpose behind it. And so life becomes so much more meaningful, and I feel more alive now than I did back then, right? When everything was surface and secular, what I would call it, right? Um, We didn't just take on this human experience to be miserable every day to build somebody else's dream and ignore our own.
Mhm.
We have a story to tell. We have a reason to come in here and make it count for our entire life. When we get to the end of our life,
Mhm.
you want to look back and say, "Dang, I did that. That was good. That was a good story. I applaud that. I applaud my own character. I did that." I told my husband, if ever anything happens to me, I want you to write on my headstone, visual encourager, she did that because
Mhm.
I did, right? There was so much more to me than the physical things. And so when I discovered who I was, there was so much more to me than I could ever imagine. I'm still uncovering. I'm still finding new passions and new things to be excited about. I'm still like basically in the newness of life, right? I haven't been on this side very long, and so I'm still enjoying the uncovering of who I am. And that's the thing. Have you been enjoying the uncovering of who you are, the unfolding of your own story? Or are you just going through life and just whatever through life? Just that's all I can do, going through life, mindlessly going through life, right? And I remember mindlessly going through life. You didn't think about much. You thought about who said what, who was saying what about you, who told on you, who said this, what did you have, which they have, what they have that you don't have, and what you had that they don't have, and you was worried about all the wrong stuff. Rather, my makeup was right, clothes, my hair, my house. Rather, my house was spick and span and clean and all of that stuff. And I remember Dr. Tony, you said when you read my obituary, I don't want them to say Dr. Tony, she really had a clean house,
My God.
really fried some chicken.
Mm.
You didn't want that to say in your obituary. So I started to think about my own story with that, and I was like, what could they say? And if you think about your obituary and you feel like they can't say nothing, create it.
Mhm.
Create that now. What do you want
Yeah.
them to say about your life when it's time for you to get on out of here? What do you want them to say? Right? What's your story? And if you feel like you don't have a great story, here's your opportunity to make one. This is why I say we get to do what we've never done, go where we've never gone, and have all that we deserve to have. I'm telling you, this is your opportunity
Yeah.
to feel alive and create a great story in the process,
Yeah.
right? Because there's so much more to life than the things that we focus on,
Mhm.
the physical things that we focus on, the what we think is lack. There's so much more to life than that. In your real life, there is no lack.
Mhm.
In your real life, the things that you think is a big problem is minute, and but you have to desire to want to be happy. You have to desire to want to live a powerful life, right? I'm telling you, you do not have to stay broken. You do not have to stay hurt. You do not have to stay upset. You do not have to stay stuck, stale, stagnant. You do not have to live a life in the break. There is a life beyond the break, right? And we're saying do whatever you can to make yourself feel better so that you can discover the life beyond the break and live life beyond the break. But the break is not your identity. It was just your turning point. The break was your uncovering. The break, the break was the entry point to your uncovering of who you are. The break was the great moment to your life, but not the pivotal moment, right? The pivotal moment is your power, the power that you gain from the break, right? And so we have to shift how we view our lives and be willing to get everything we can out of this life so we don't waste the human experience. I tried so many times to waste the human experience, and life wouldn't let me because I didn't know I had power with me. I didn't know I had purpose. Honestly, I was mindlessly going through, but the issues that I had in life. uncovered that there was more to me than what I saw. There was more to me than the physical life. There was a whole game going on in the background, a
Mm-hmm.
whole game being played. It wasn't about just getting a flag at the end. It was about the experience that you have with playing a game. It's about what you uncover in the game. It's not just about getting a flag. Yes, you want to get the flag, but you want to experience playing the game while you're getting the flag. You
Mm-hmm.
want to play your own game, not just keep watching everybody else play theirs. You want to be a player. You want to be an important player in your life. And so you want to be the MVP, right? And so in order to do that, you got to make the decision that you're going to stand and you're going to make it count, and you're not just going to go through it, but whatever you got to go through, you're going to take and you're going to use it for the ability to evolve. Back to you, Dr. Tony.
So fantastic and amazing. Attractive thinkers and visual encouragers. I want you to write down in your attractive thinker notebook the definition of use, because today's topic is don't just go through it, use it. The definition of use is to employ for some purpose. To employ for some purpose. To put into service. To put into service. To make use of. To apply to one's own purpose. Don't just go through it, use it. So, Tichet, I'm going to highlight some of the things that you shared with the attractive thinkers and visual encouragers around the world today. You said the focus, when our heart breaks and when we go through defining moments, the focus tends to be on the pain and not the make it count part. And remember, turn to page 463, attractive thinkers and visual encouragers, and read that section. If it has to hurt, it has to count. So, Tisha, you said the focus tends to be on the pain, not the make it count part. And today we're highlighting don't just go through it, use it. You also said I had to go deep in my life because I was cut deep. Remember, if you have to go through it, use it. You also said, Tishet, you don't know what's inside of you until a situation calls for it. Don't just go through it, attractive thinker, use it. You said it leaves you with a foundation, and those are the gems, the lessons, and the blessings that we talked about. Don't just go through it, use it. Now, you might say, well, Dr. Toni, you sound repetitive. This is what we do, this is how the mind works. You just discovered something. Your mind thrives on repetition. If you want to change, if you want to accomplish something, if you want to do anything new, you're going to have to shift into repetition. And that's why throughout the Attractive Thinker book, you're going to see sections and parts and phrases where you say, I thought I just read that a minute ago. It's because the more you read it, the more it gets in, the more you program your mind for success. So, Tishet, you also said, if you allow your situations to silence you, how can you turn your pain into power? Don't just use it, attractive thinker and visionaries around the world. Don't just go through it, use it. Tishet, this is what intrigued me. You caught my attention when you said this. Sometimes you're inflicted with pain strong enough to make you move. Don't just go through it, attractive thinker. Use it. Some don't give birth without the pain or know that they're even in labor without the pain. Don't just go through it, use it. Some don't know that they're carrying a whole baby without the pain. It's the pain that makes them go to the hospital and try to figure out what's going on. They may think they're sick or have the flu or coming down with something, and they end up producing a whole baby, but the pain was the indicator that something was going on. To the you also said you go through so much due to the power and the purpose in your life that's on your life. Now, if you're going through so much, you don't want to just go through it, you want to use it. You said we are meant to feel alive, not doing the same things every single day and going through routines and having the, I mean, what joy is that in waking up when you already expect it to look like yesterday?
Mhm.
We're not wired for that. We're not cut out for that. That's why it doesn't sit well with you, attractive thinker and visionary. That's why it doesn't sit well with you, because we're not wired that way. We're supposed to feel alive. We're supposed to have an expectation for the day, not knowing what joys and pleasant surprises and divine
Mm.
interventions we're going to encounter along the way. We're supposed to wake up excited to experience that. When you said, Tichet, don't waste your pain, you're breaking, I wrote down, you're breaking or your process. Don't waste it. Don't waste those gems. That's the message that I want to leave with the attractive thinkers and visual encouragers today, because you don't want to go through something and come out empty handed. You want to pay attention while you're going through, even through your tears, even through my tears. I had to pay attention to my life because it wasn't nothing going to take me out like that, and I wasn't going to get something from it or get an explanation. At least, please explain, what is all of this about? Why did I have to take that route? Why did I have to go through that? Why did it have to hurt so bad? See, it's one thing, a pinch hurts, even a punch hurts. But to take me almost literally off of my feet, that I want to know what that's all about. You could have
Mhm.
got my attention with the pinch or the punch, but to literally knock me out of the game, I have to. Once I finish crying and bandaging up my wounds, I got some questions for you.
Mhm. Mhm.
I want to know what this was all about. And see, that's where the soul searching begins. You begin to search your own soul for answers and clues and clarity and reasons and explanations. And in that search is where you discover who you truly are. It's in that search that you discover who you truly are. So when I say that, to share, could it be that these life experiences place us on a path to pursuing who we truly are? Because other than that, like you recently said, without the pain, I never would have inquired what was going on inside of me.
Mhm.
And that's a healing and growth process. You don't get to this process at the beginning of the breaking. You grow into this knowledge, and you only grow because you want to grow.
Yes.
You only grow because you want to grow. You only discover these gems and this treasure and these blessings and lessons because you want to. I wanted to do the right thing. I wanted to prosper. I wanted to reach my highest potential. I wanted to get something from all of that pain that I could use going forward. And that's the only reason why I discovered it, is because I wanted it. You have to have a will, because wills come with ways. Where
Mhm.
there
Mhm.
is a will, the way is already made. You have to want this. You might say, well, Dr. Toni, I've been through some things and I didn't gather any. Did you want to know the truth? We have a
Mhm.
whole segment that we talked about, another Beyond the Break episode on our YouTube channel about the truth. What was it? Beware of the truth. Go listen to that. Go listen to that, because it's risky wanting to know the truth. You have to encounter some things when you're on a truth quest. You got to be strong. You got to have courage on a truth quest. So when you go through some things, if you have the will to hang in there, I had made up my mind to shed. If I have to experience this kind of pain, I have to live long enough to see what this is all about. I want to see the result of this. I'm not going to check out in this pain. I'm not going to check out in the middle of this defining moment, because it's going to produce something. And if I had to experience, if it had to hurt me, I deserve the fruit of that. I deserve to experience the fruit of this pain, of this experience. I'm not going to check out and let somebody else enjoy the fruit of my pain. It was my pain. I felt it. It's just like going through all the labor pains and then somebody else get to enjoy your baby.
Mhm.
Somebody, you just walk away from the hospital with nothing to remember but pain.
Hmm.
It hurts. You had incisions and everything, and you don't have anything to show. What happened? People around you say, well, what happened? You went through all of that
Hmm.
pain. What happened? If it has to hurt, make it count. Page 463. Tisha, tell our audience how they can get in touch with you, the visual encourager.
Absolutely. You can find me on my website at www.visualencouragement.com. We provide mental support for movers and shakers, for trailblazers, pathfinders, and groundbreakers. All you visionaries who desire to move mountains but need help lifting the heaviness so that you can create a new vision for yourself. Go to my contact us page, visit my blog also, and my power wall. Yes, use my power wall. When you go to my contact us page, put in your information. Let me know how I can uplift you, enlighten you, and encourage you so that you can live a life of fulfillment beyond a break. Again, my website is www.visualencouragement.com. See you soon.
Awesome. Attractive thinkers and visionaries around the world. We're excited that you joined us today. Thank you. If this message resonated with you, if it healed you, if it gave you clarity, if it turned the light on, if it lifted your spirit and empowered you, click the like button. Click the subscribe button. Subscribe to our channel so that you get notified when we go live and upload other videos and powerful content to support you in living your life beyond a break. I want you to share this message. Click that share button because if it resonated with you, if it made a difference in your life, it will make a difference in the lives of others as well. Visit our website, theattractivethinker.guru. We have a lot of great content there and some freebies for you to start your own journey to discovering your gems and the lessons and the blessings from your defining moments. Put your email information there and you check your email every day for the next 5 days because you're going to receive a special email from me to support you on that journey. Remember to get your book, The Attractive Thinker Experience, on Amazon. It is a timeless treasure, 726 pages. Might say, well, Dr. Toni, why is it so long? Because I poured my heart and soul into that book, and the book was the only form that I could think of to give you everything that I've been through, my experiences, the lessons, the blessings, the clarities, the questions, the healing. I wanted you to have it all because you're scattering yourself trying to grab pieces and parts all over the place. I wanted you to have it all in one place so that you can write your books and launch your business ideas and transform your life and do that new thing that you always wanted to do with minimal effort so that you can keep the momentum and see progress, an invisible concept idea into physical form in your hand, in your reality. I want you to listen to this message again. This is one message above all the others. This is one message that I want you to listen to again and go over it with a fine tooth comb. Have your Attractive Thinker notebook handy and capture the gems because you're going to capture things when you listen to it again that you weren't able to capture this first time in hearing this message. It's valuable, it's rich, it's an awesome treasure, and you don't want to, like Tisha said, let all of those gems hit the floor. You don't want to waste that pain. I want you to remember, we always say this, our life's work is to make your life better. Remember, it's not what you're going through, it's how you're viewing it. Think attractively. We'll see you soon.